Hey everyone, hope everyone is having a great day today. Just going over the pre-market plan from this morning on today's trading session from May 3rd, 2022. Just wanted to go over this couple scenarios that I had laid out for today, including on NQ, and my ideas. All right, so the bull case scenario, yesterday we had an interesting daily daily candle. You can kind of see that we had this dragonfly looking thing with a slight increase in volume here, so signifying that buyers are trying to step in. But overall, we are in obviously a bit of a downtrend here, so definitely remaining a little bit cautious. The next thing that I want to go over is the scenarios on the bull side. So I would like us to retest the newly created demand from 5-2, and that is on this messy chart, which I'll head over to now. And you can see that we created 2-hour demand, 1-hour demand yesterday, but really didn't want us to see, really didn't want us to get down to this and retrace all the way. But if that was the case, I would have hoped for a V-shaped recovery, based on confirmation in this zone. The next scenario that I was looking at was legacy hold value above this short-term 41.57.5 area to show continued strength and hold above it. I got that level from this 1-hour time frame. You can kind of see that we've tested it a couple times here, 1, 2, a couple times in here, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So, this is definitely an area of interest. But, we've started the trading session and we could not hold above it. So, immediately I was thinking, all right, maybe we're a little bearish and heading into it. So, here's what happened. We immediately, tried pushing above it, and then we immediately sold off. So we tried popping and then we sold off. And what I wanted to look at was rejecting, staying below this 41.57 area to try and target to the downside. And that's the trade I entered on. And I got in right at 9:42, I believe. So right here, 9:42, 9:43. So this candle is really not that accurate. I'll just move it for sake of a visual. We rejected this. I traded on a 5-minute, but this is what I saw in real time. So you can kind of see that we instantly rejected, pretty kind of aggressively sold off here. So I entered right at this area here, and I was initially targeting, pre-market low at 41.30 area and then 41.18. But I made the mistake of not scaling out here at 41.40 because this is a pretty tight risk to reward. It's, about 4 points, let's say, if I wanted to say, well, maybe like 2 points even. And I stopped out at break even. So not a terrible trade, but if you see, I should have scaled here after we got this nice push, secure some profits, a low of day, obviously a low of day fake out almost. But we did create a lower low here, so it definitely showed some weakness in the market. So I thought it was a decent trade that just simply didn't work out, and buyers stepped in, kind of reversing slow grind. But I think I did a nice job handling it besides not scaling out here. I think I should have scaled out. Maybe make a rule of thumb of scaling immediately once price hits 3-to-1, because I think 3-to-1 is a very good risk to reward and long-term strategy. Might have even been, if we have a 2-point stop even, 3-point stop even, that's like a 4 or 5 to 6-to-1 down here. So pretty good that I should have scaled out on. So I stopped out there. Do want to point out VIX. VIX, I said, needed to stay below 32.9, or I will look to short if we were above that number. If we can claim 31.6 and below, I will look to long. So that was last night's thoughts. However, I'm starting to kind of get myself familiar with VIX and what it really is and how I can use it in my trading. So if we go to a 5-minute chart, we can see that it really wasn't doing much. It was kind of just chopping around for the first 20 minutes of the open. And yeah, so not really much conviction or direction here. But we were coming down previous day, opened up slightly lower. So probably should have reevaluated and adjusted. Maybe looked at a short term. Let's just see real quick if there's any kind of short term areas that could have helped me. Does not look like maybe this. Let's see. Let's go on a 1-hour time frame real quick, just to see. So this is what I would do in my pre-market analysis. Is what I would look for. So it does look like there's a 31.6 area. So that's kind of interesting. If we could get below, kind of look to long. But we opened up. Where did we open up? We opened it right there. So maybe we bounced off that. I don't know, where are we? Here we are. Yeah, so we were kind of bouncing right off that level. Actually, that's really interesting. So that just supports that idea even more. I'll go back to it again. Um, and if we look for 31.6, it's another kind of area of interest on VIX that, kind of you can easily see here. I'll just extend it this way. Let's just go to this 31.6 area. Okay. And I'll change the color so it's a little bit easier to see. I'll make it white and we can look. All right. So you can easily see that this has been tested quite a few times in the past. Actually, it's a very key area. You can see, especially in the recent past, it's been a defining area. So now if we compare ES and VIX side by side, you can easily see that, all right, we came down, tested it, and then we bounced off this 31.6 level, adding to this conviction to this trade. So we double bottomed here, and buyers stepped in immediately. So it was kind of like a fake out. But honestly, I'm liking this trade more and more. The more I analyze it, I think it was a decent trade that simply didn't work out because we could have easily sold off and had a very tough day in the market, and I would have made quite a bit of money if I stuck to it, but got stopped out for break even. So that was the first trade. The next possible setup that I could have taken, which I didn't. We'll just go over back to ES, and then I'll get to NQ, which provided some interesting setups as well. The bear case scenario is, we'll go there. Still in a downtrend overall. Interested in shorting the nearby supply, looking for bearish patterns such as a RBD, double top, lower highs inside supply, etc. Scenario 2, if we hold the hold value above. So started out with 41.57.5. That we tried that. It kind of worked, didn't really. And then scenario 1 worked out beautifully. It just wasn't around to take it. So let's go ahead. You can see that we created many lower highs in supply, which should have been a clear indication to take short if I was around. Now, I do want to go over some kind of reverse psychology, or I guess what you could have done. I'm just trying to think, would I have gone short here? Would I have gone short immediately as we kind of created this rally-based drop pattern? Not really, because look at the strength of these candles. Volume kind of came in here. And this is a very bad basing candle. It just signifies that buyers are still interested. It's possible, we get in here and maybe with a very tight stop. Possible, not the best trade by any means. And we had, 5 green candles in a row. So that's something else to pay attention to. We're above VWAP, etc. So obviously the best look at entry might have been when we created a lower, what is this, like a higher low kind of thing, and we failed to create another higher high. So just kind of breaking that down, you can see we created all these higher lows here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Finally broke it, came down to make a higher low here, and we broke below the previous candle, signifying possible weakness. Now, if we came back up, let's say we came back up, and now we could have possibly gone short here. Volume's kind of dying out here, right? Not the best looking volume here. So how else can we realize? Well, there's a double top here, and we again created another indication to get short. So how can we combine that? Let's go back and look at VIX again. And VIX is kind of getting a little weak. Whoops, let's just go back. And there really wasn't any kind of help that VIX provided here to provide confirmation to go short. And when I do that, I really want to see, add a bunch of factors together to make a very high probability trade. So let's see if we got in. Let's say we got in around 11:10. Let's go down to 11:10. 11:10 is here, and you could see that we're, just free falling. So really no point, no indication of taking this short. Now, obviously, a key area would have been, the psychological of 30. So I would really like to see VIX come down to 30 and then bounce. So let's see if that ever happened. It's possible we could have missed that trade. Here, you could have gotten in. I feel like this is a tough trade here because, again, VIX is kind of free falling in a sense. Not really much supporting it. We did bounce a little, but, not really predictable. Higher probability was this 30 level, right? That was kind of the next area in my eyes where we could see VIX bounce. Let me just check if there's any kind of other areas of interest before then. And again, this is the kind of analysis that I would do on a normal basis. Before 30, there's really nothing that clear. Maybe 30.2 looks possible. Is the only possibility. I don't even think that would have helped actually. So I'll just go back down to, let's see, 30.2. So it's possible. If I had this 30.2 area marked, it's possible I could have gotten, I could have looked for a bounce there, which it did. So it really depends. That's how you use VIX though. 30.2, it bounced, and right at that 30.2, where was this? Right. We came here, tested it to the penny almost at 11:30. And that's obviously when we breached our high, but really no confirmation here. We put in a higher low here, so then obviously you take it there. So really tough setup to short initially, but if we stuck to our initial plan of this 30 round psychological whole number, you can see that we are looking for a bounce here, and in the meantime we're putting in all of these lower highs inside of supply. So you really could have gotten short anytime above these lower highs. This one here, starting with that one, with a stop above high of day, very reasonable, above this 41.95 area, targeting this level of interest or even this pivot high here for a nice gain. And look what happens when we test 30. It's right at this 1:40 area, 1:40 p.m. area in supply, and we sold off pretty heavily, and that's really powerful. So that's a really beautiful setup that I think that could have easily been taken. Again, another lower high here. This is a beautiful rally-based drop, kind of picking up maybe a little bit tougher, but, coming back into supply, really strong candles, but, made a bit of a weaker candle, showing that sellers are still present. And we sold off again, so still possible to even short here with a stop above high of day. Risk is, a little bit skewed, but we came back and tested this area of interest again. So now on to NQ, just to wrap the video up. This is a pretty gross looking chart. So how would I have traded this? Well, first option is I don't, but second option is if we're taking the same ideas that we have from ES and looking at our areas of interest, we're still bouncing in between these zones here. So you can see that we're trading in this consolidation period, which means that we're going to be expecting a big move to the downside or the upside. I still think that we have a little bit of room down to the downside before we have this melt up, but that's just a guess. So how do we play this? Well, we're below this area of interest of 13,088.25 ish. I'll just fix that just because it's gonna bother me. Let's make it a whole number. And again, these area of interests are just they're not to the penny, they're near, right? So the next area of interest was 12,975. You could have shorted until then, but not really any opportunity to get short when the market opened. It's possible you could have gotten long, but probably pretty risky in my opinion. We're kind of in a free fall and not really any indication of going back up. Not much. Well, if using that VIX VIX is bouncing and we fell below that 30, or what is that, the number? If I go on NQ and we'll look at VIX again, we'll go back to the start of the day, and this was around 950. So what happened at 950 when we broke the price level of 31.6? We came back up, and you could have gotten long here with the idea and confirmations that VIX was now breaking low of day, and we are breaking above, creating this speculating demand, bouncing off this area of interest. If you got long in here, you would have to put your stop low of day, which means you're risking quite a bit. Let's say you got in right as 13,020. So that's about 50 points, and you would need to do about, I like to say 2.5 to 1. So that would have hit. It just, 3 to 1, really kind of tricky. Risk to reward kind of iffy. So you obviously would have came out with a little bit of profit, but I think you really would have had to get down below here for your risk to reward to make any sense. So, 13 31,000 here is a good number to hold. Psychological number we needed to see is claim this level. So I think anywhere above there is reasonable, bouncing off this area of interest. And with a stop below low of day, I think that was a possible trade. Another one that I like even better is this one here. We double bottomed here, kind of retested this 31.6 area and double topped up here. And then we sold off here, and then we bounced and continued up, creating a nice little drop base rally. And that was another really nice trade setup that you could have easily had on NQ, even though NQ was a little bit more choppier, still looking like a barcode. So a couple different setups. Hopefully you got some information out of this video, and thank you so much for watching.